keep notes, gotta pay my tax. And I got receipts for my young G's raps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps. Mark my words. How many times have I seen it up doing up pavement and drove on the curb? Zach and Cody, Mary and Ashley, Wayne and Lucian, Phineas Ferb. Lurk with the twins trying to turn man earth. You don't wanna see a man flex this burst on God when I hop out, then pricks disperse. Ain't got time for my enemies' antics, always trying to draw man out for the pride. I was in Fort Park doing up rides, and youths on a bike with the shells and the spikes. If you see me out in the flesh, then it's active. Brother on my right, too small, won't fight. You fully on foes with the bolts like right. You back out the hammer like 4 and strike you. Hard drive man, load up and wipe you. Dance on the dogs, don't tear, just bite you. Come a long way from a shank on a typhoon. Outshot, draw shot tracks and a right to you. Nerd, shut your mouth and stop verbal. Out on my run, trying to turn man herbal. Mash filled up like the cheeks on gerbil. Watch those guys when they stink like Bursal. Drop black on black. Feds think I'm fully involved. I took a black cab from the show to the trap. Go yard wallet in my Marys and I keep notes, gotta pay my tax. And I got receipts from my young G's raps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps. Drop black on black. Feds think I'm fully involved. I took a black cab from the show to the trap. Go yard wallet in my Marys and I keep notes, gotta pay my tax. And I got receipts from my young G's raps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps, can't lack. I direct the Migos like daps. Cartier frames and a turtleneck. Fancy. Parents always love me as a den against you. Had the wins, but I'm not a winner yet. If we're trying to make a pass, I'm an innocent. Got the dog up in the club, I ain't bring a pet. Covered in the ice, I ain't trying to sweat. We can make some bread, we can split a check. But I ain't back and forth on the internet.
When I think of it, babe, you'll be a 10 out of 10 if you never smoke cigarette. But can I blow your back just a little bit? I Uber, you're messing with a bigger fish. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. Tell your mum grab a mic. You're looking like a snack, baby, can I get a bite? Don't pull it on a plate. Remember when we touched them, I bet we'll never say.
One of them, man, got a touch, man, them own up. Stop the drilling in my merch, you're a donut. Young boy made him so much money that he's grown up. Fuck if him, I'll send the rockets, get you blown up. Posh girls wanna take me back to their yard. I don't care if pops is racist, tell your dad I'm a star. And I watch this on his wrist, I put that on the card. We put bricks up on the strip and now there's bricks in the yard. Cartier frames and a turtleneck. Fancy. Parents always love me as a den against you. Had the wins, but I'm not a winner yet.
And we are good to go. Yeah, we are live. Right, good evening guys and welcome to an episode of the Bakery Podcast. I am joined today by a COD veteran and one of the biggest personalities within esports, James Clayster, Eubanks. Thank you for joining me.
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
No problem at all.
You got good Twitter game, man, to get me on here. That's crazy.
I've got like a small cult following at the moment that just seems to like work magic for me, honestly.
It works out, man.
yeah. So how was scrims today and stuff? How's your day been? Good?
Yeah, man, day's not too bad. I mean, another day playing Modern Warfare. But you know, I get paid to do what I love every single day, and you know, you can't complain about days like that.
No, of course, I get it. So, quick little shout for you, the icebreaker on this show. I did just tell you about it a little before we went live. We always ask every single guest the top 5 choice of crisps, or in your case, potato chips, with flavours. And I'm hoping you can give me some good shouts because you know we need to make sure this podcast runs smoothly, and you know I'm going to really judge you heavily on this. So,
I feel my choice is one of the best choices. I'm a big fan of kettle cooked salt and vinegar. Is my favorite type of chip ever.
That's good. Yeah.
And just like a really good kettle cooked salt and vinegar chip is number 1, and then number 2 are like the Canadian all dressing chips. They're like dressed in a bunch of different things, and you can only get them in a couple places. And those my second favorite chips.
Yeah.
Third favorite is probably like sour cream and onion. Yeah. And then after that, everything's moot. Like I'm not eating any other chips other than those types of chips.
See, that's pretty good. Like I'd put that I'd say that's like a mid tier for what we've had. Because we've had some real shiners, bro. Like these people have like the palate of Gordon Ramsay. And then you've got like Mad Cat who like literally just eats already salted Walkers or Lays, you know. for like his whole life. So it is what it is.
I mean, that's the worst type of chip, right? Like the Lay's, just like your flat, salted. Yeah, that's definitely the worst type of chip.
Yeah. The people that eat those, bro, literally go to sleep with no TV, no light. They wake up, no coffee, awful life. 100%, I promise, bro. People that eat those chips, no way. There's no life to that chip. It's so bad. So I just want to get into a little bit of the origins of James as opposed to Clayster. So where did your love for gaming start?
Yeah, I mean, from very young age, like I'm talking 4 years old. I had 2 older brothers and a dad who were super into like technology. Like we had 2 PCs in our house in the 90s, and like first in our neighborhood to have DSL and a scanner and stuff. So like my family's always been very technology oriented just growing up. Like I remember playing like some of the original Warcraft on like old PC dial-up when I was a kid. So I've always just been around video games a lot, you know, playing a lot of like StarCraft and stuff back in the day, Rainbow Six. And then kind of when the newer gen consoles came out, it was just a constant competition between me and my 2 older brothers. So I've always just like really since like 5 years old been playing video games against my brothers locally, and then eventually when everything went online against a bunch of other people. So gaming for me has been my entire life. Like I've been playing games since I can remember.
Yeah. And why? I mean, obviously, your love for gaming probably started out originally out of an enjoyment and then slowly began to build into a competitive aspect. So, when did Call of Duty kind of take over for that?
It's actually really interesting. So, I was a really big Halo kid during Halo 1 and Halo 2. Like, I still think to this day I put more hours into Halo 2 than I put into any other game. Like, maybe if you add up all the Call of Duties combined at this point, like I played more Call of Duty, but a singular game I've never played more than Halo 2. And really defined me as like a competitive player. It was just like I competed in Halo at a really, really low level, but I was still trying at like 13, 14 years old. And right around the time Halo 3 came out, a couple months later, Call of Duty 4 came out. And so I was always a Halo kid. I hated COD. I would talk trash to my friends who played COD. And I eventually got really bored of Halo 3. Like, I played it a lot as well, but I just really wasn't feeling it. And so some of my real-life friends convinced me to, like, rent Call of Duty 4, like, the original one, and give it a try. And from, like, that night, I picked it up, and I immediately was just, like, shredding in pubs. I was like, oh, wait, this game's way more fun. Like, I can just one-man army everything. I don't have to use like a teammate in Halo or have somebody calming like in Halo. Like I can just get all these kills myself. So really that's where the transition happened, was right around Halo 3. And then I kind of just shifted into loving COD way, way, way more. And just as soon as I hit max prestige, it was like, all right, what's the next step? Game battles. All right, what's the next step? Tournaments, you know, just like immediately like one step after the other as soon as I found COD.
Yeah. And was it COD 4, the title that you kind of got stuck into?
Yeah. So like 2008, 2009, I was just like COD 4. It was like my junior and senior year in high school, and I was really just like like if I wasn't hanging out with my friends and doing stupid shit with them in high school, I was playing COD. So those are the 2 things.
Yeah. I feel you. So what was your intent? I mean, obviously, you know, you grew up with this love for gaming and obviously this competitive nature began to be fulfilled by Call of Duty. What was your intent before COD? I mean, what did you plan to do with your life?
So I've been raised by my family to go to college, get a degree, university and stuff. And my oldest brother graduated with like honors in his like at his college with like a 4 point something GPA. And then my other older brother has his master's degree in psychology. And so like it was only like right that I was going to go to college, and I was really interested in psychology, and I wanted to do something with psychology and be like a psychiatrist and kind of like a therapist, a person who helps people with their problems and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I went to school for, because like I wasn't making enough money off COD to make it a career until like 3 years into college, like 2013, right when I joined Complexity. And so for those 3 years, I went to college and I was studying to be a psychiatrist. Like I was keeping my grades up so I could go to graduate school and get my master's degree. I was taking full workload of classes, working part-time, and then playing COD on the side. And really, that was my goal. And I think around that time, like 2013, once I started getting into the higher level classes for psychology in college, it became like I wasn't cut out for like therapy work. Like I couldn't handle dealing with other people's problems on top of my own.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bunch of like undergrad counseling sessions. They're like 10% of the cost of a real one, and it was like a student psychologist type of thing, and it was how you had to get a certain number of hours. And I just slowly, like, as I did more and more, I was like, I can't handle this. I need to find something else to do. Like, that's what really caused me to like really go hard into playing COD as a career. Was like, I can't do this my whole life. Like, I'm not cut out for it.
Yeah. So when did you kind of realize that COD was a real viable career choice?
Around that time, I just joined Complexity in Black Ops 2, which was like late 2013, and we were just going to tournaments and winning them. And I slowly realized, like, oh, this is more profitable right now than any job I could get, you know, and as long as I keep winning. And so that was the thing back then. It's like we weren't making salary, we weren't making a lot of Twitch or YouTube money. I mean, some people were, but I definitely wasn't. And so it was right around I joined Complexity, and we won like 3 in a row. And I was kind of like, all right, maybe I should like put all my time into this and see, you know, if it works out. And that was a big battle, dude. Like, like I said, I was raised to go to college and get my degree. So dropping out of college, not because I couldn't do it. I had like a 3.9. But because I had better opportunities, was a scary decision, dude. Like, banking your pretty much whole life on something is super scary, and I didn't want to do it. And my family and friends convinced me to drop out of school and to do COD full time. And I was like the only one out of like 10 of my closest friends and family. I was like, I want to stay in school, and they're like, no, you fucking don't. Like, you can always go back to school. Like, just go play COD. And I'm like, like, but it's such a it's such a risk, and especially back then it was a gigantic risk to do it. And I'm super thankful that it's paid off, at least up until now.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I've got a little bit of Clay trivia here. I've put little bits of Clay trivia in between different segments just to really test your knowledge on your history.
Trivia of me?
Yeah, of you.
God.
So,
oh, God.
You were crowned MVP of COD Champs 2015, right? Do you remember what KD you led the bracket play with?
Ooh. I think I know my KD for the whole tournament. I don't know if it's just bracket play or not, though. It was like a 1.31.
Oh, wow. You got it.
Was that it?
That was it. Wow.
Let's go.
Damn.
Let's go, dude. That's actually one of my proudest achievements, no lie. So that's like one of the only reasons I know that. Like, if you asked my KD of any other tournament, I would not know it. But that specific one, I'm so proud of that, dude. Like,
that's impressive.
If you want to, like, I go back and watch those matches sometimes, just like if I need some motivation, like go back and watch those and just be like, all right, I can do this, you know? So that's just, that KD, that number is just one of the one that I remember, dude.
That's impressive. Seriously, well done. So, what obstacles were there during your pursuit of Call of Duty that you had to kind of overcome? I mean, obviously you talk about these, you know, taking that risk and that whole, is this going to pay off? There's obviously been bumps and hurdles along the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, dude. Like, I hate to be the person that sounds ungrateful for the position that they're in, and so I try and walk that line quite a bit to where I'm not, you know, just whining or complaining when I have a quote-unquote dream job, you know? But a lot of people don't realize the struggles and how hard it actually is to do what we do. It's like, I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of pressure that is on us as professional players all the time. Like, pressure from our teammates, pressure from ourselves, pressure from the fans, pressure from the org, the sponsors. And that, in turn, affects your performance and affects how you perform in game. And then you get disappointed in yourself, and it kind of leads in a circle back on itself. So I really think that, like, people need to understand how much time we actually put into the game and how badly we want to win, and how much it means to all of us. Because a lot of people think it's just like, oh, we're just playing another COD tournament. Like, oh, we lose a match, we don't care. Like, most of us care a lot. And, you know, every loss stings super bad for a long time. Like, you know, I just got over this past weekend, like today. And, you know, it's like you sit on it for days and days, and that's me after 10 years. So I think that just like a lot of the hurdles people don't really think about is that, well, this year is a bit different, but especially in years past when we travel all the time and stuff, and we have tournaments and the schedule isn't announced till 4 months out, it's impossible to plan anything. You have no idea when you're going to be free. I've
Yeah.
missed countless weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, concerts that I've paid for, vacations I've paid for that I've like had to eat the cost just because like tournaments get announced. And so like I struggle to get home for Christmas because there's always tournaments around there and I can't leave my setup and go home to my family. So it's definitely you're missing out on a lot. And
Yeah.
not to say that we don't get to do a lot because we get to travel and usually and that kind of thing, but you miss out on a lot of things. And I think after all this is said and done, that's probably going to be like my number one like thing that I kind of regret is how many things I've missed out on. Like I missed out on all of my friends getting married, vacations to places I've like booked to go with them, concerts, festivals, all that kind of thing. So yeah, it gets really lonely sometimes and
Yeah.
secluded. You know, it's just
Yeah,
constantly
absolutely.
you're worried about this one thing and this one goal all the time, and there's never really an opportunity to break away from that.
No, for you. I respect the honesty and I respect the hustle at the same time. Um, the next question was more around, what have you had to sacrifice to reach the level that you have within your career, whether it was friendships or other opportunities, and I think you've pretty much just covered most of it there. Has there been alternate opportunities that have been offered to you in life that you've turned down, in terms of maybe career choices or vice versa, or a different path that you've turned down in the hopes that this career would pay off the way it has?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the initial plan of being a therapist or psychiatrist or whatever. But past that, even the past couple years, I've been offered jobs at all the game developers for Call of Duty, all Activision, a lot of teams, multiple companies that make peripherals and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I've had opportunities to quit competing and quit playing, and I hopefully will have more opportunities once I'm done.
Yeah,
But for me, it's about the competition. It's about competing. It's about saying like I'm better than you. Like I'm the best at this game that we both put all our time into. And
yeah,
winning a world championship in a game tens of millions of people play is like a special feeling. Like it's pretty crazy and it's pretty like surreal when it happens. And that like competition is what I'm chasing like this whole time. Like
Yeah.
right now, like I'm still competing, like because number one, I can still do it. And number two, like I just love competing. And I think once that's taken away from me, it's gonna be like I'm gonna have to shift my life values and my views and just how I live life overall, because my life is built around competition,
Yeah. Do you see the possibility of that competitive nature being fulfilled by coaching in the future, or?
Maybe. I think I'd get frustrated at coaching. I think coaching would I would just be like, just let me play. Just let me play. You go sit on the bench, let me play. So
I feel you.
it has to be like I have to be there mentally for it. Like I have to be ready to be done. Like if I'm like forced into a coaching role, it won't be good. But if it's something that I kind of come around to and choose, then I think I'd be like excellent at it.
Yeah. I mean, this moves on to a new point. For the majority of your career, you've displayed the utmost professionalism, whether it's, I suppose whereas a lot of other players continually have outbursts that may affect their image and relationships with people around them. And now obviously I'm assuming this territory becomes more familiar with the more experience and maturity. But has there ever been a single moment that brought a wave of change to the way that you carry yourself as a player? For example, maybe reading a certain book or overseeing another player's situation and so on.
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. I think I've had multiple renaissances throughout my career where something has happened that's kind of made me reevaluate how I approach the game, how I see competing and stuff. And the most recent one that I had was when I almost got dropped off at United last year, when that JCap was trying to drop me, and there was a bunch of stuff going on, but basically they were trying to drop me. And once the org backed me and put me in a position where like we're gonna listen to you, like this is your choice, it gave me like a renewed sense of purpose in a way in how I approached speaking and interacting with my teammates and making sure that, like I'm very critical of mistakes and when people do the wrong thing, and I don't have the best tone of voice when I give constructive criticism. And at that moment when I was getting dropped, it kind of made me realize like I got to fix all this. Like I got to be a better teammate. I got to communicate better. I got to, take this more seriously. I got to take this like do everything I can to win, And so I kind of shifted my lens of the game, if you will, and just made it about like making sure that I'm saying the right things in the right way at the right times and not being overbearing, not just taking a back seat, but taking an active role and being like a helpful member of the team. And I think
Yeah.
that's like a major component of us winning champs and playoffs last year. You know, it's one of the things where the more your teammates like you, the better you're going to play. Like,
Yeah.
and that's simply what it is. And so, yeah, I mean, like, there's been a couple of those moments where I've kind of realized, like, oh, watching somebody else, you know, go off is a feeling I try and emulate all the time. And so, like, after Ghost, I made sure, like, you know, Advanced Warfare is going to be my game. Like, I'm going to make this game my game. And I won 4 tournaments and champs that year. And so it's like I've had moments where it's like, why am I still doing this? Because I want to be the best in the world. All right, let's go out there and prove it and do everything I got to do to prove it.
Yeah. I like it. I'm grateful for that answer. It was much more insight than I expected, actually. Bit more Clay trivia. I'm going to hit you again. So, in 2013, you, Aches, Crimsix, and TP attended MLG Spring Championships, and you placed first, winning $20,000. Now, do you remember the roster that you beat to secure the win?
What city was it in? Do we know? Spring Championship?
Yeah,
This
it was
is terrible.
2013 MLG Spring Championships.
I don't. Well, like, is it? Oh man.
Do you want me to look? I can check the city. Maybe 2 seconds.
Well, the city might give it away. But yeah, I don't know where the Spring Champ. Hold on, let me go through it. I think Anaheim was.
I'll tell you. I'll give you a little. It was Dallas.
It was Dallas.
It was in
Oh
Dallas.
my gosh. Oh no, I have no idea. 2013 Spring Championship or 2014?
Yeah, 2013.
Oh, I have no idea, dude. 2013 Spring Championship?
Yeah. You
Are
won
you
it.
sure I won?
Bro, I promise you. MLG Spring Championships, you placed first, winning $20,000 with Aches, Crim, and TP.
I don't know.
It was quite. I suppose there was a small rivalry at the time as well, so I'm interested. I'm quite surprised you don't know.
Was it Farico?
No.
I don't know, dude.
It was Team Impact. It was Karma, Killer, Mercs, and Parasite.
Oh, yeah. Farico Impact. Yeah. Come on. Wait, so was that Anaheim or was that was Dallas, you said?
Yeah, it was Dallas. MLG Spring Championships.
I don't remember this tournament.
Yeah, you won 20K. Yeah, you guys placed first and we took the W.
Right. That, dude.
So in previous interviews and videos, you've spoken about times you doubted yourself as a player. How did you overcome that mindset, and what's kept you strong through your trials, whether that be, you know, family, Luna, and so on?
I don't know. I think I'm a person who perseveres. I think that once I dedicate myself to something, I'm pretty like dead set on that and kind of dedicated to that. So I don't know, man. I'm very critical, and I have a very not bad self-esteem, but I just understand when I'm not being the best person I can be. And so I think that, like, you can't be the best person you can be without, like, looking at yourself and understanding what makes you tick, what makes you act certain ways, what makes you perform bad or be a bad teammate or all that stuff. And so I think that's just constantly the battle that I'm going through and kind of holding myself accountable. And I think everybody likes to say they do, but I do a lot, and almost in a bad way. Like, I beat up on myself way too much about things. And really what I look back on and what keeps me going is, you know, I look over at my trophy shelf and I see like 2 World Championships rings, like an X Games gold medal, like MVPs, trophies, just like all up and down it. And just kind of have to remind myself, like, I'm one of the best Call of Duty players to ever play this game.
Yeah.
Like, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll eventually get to a spot where you can compete and you can hang and you can win tournaments. So that's really just the main thing that I got to keep reminding myself of is, like, until I'm on the main stage getting smoked, dropping 0.7s, like, then once my hands give out, like, then I'll understand it's time for me. But, like, until that happens, like, I'm still winning tournaments. I just won a world championship. I'm on one of the best teams in the game right now, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it's always worked out in the past.
No, I feel you. How important is it within this pursuit of being a professional, you know, within esports especially, that your significant other supports your ultimate goal, and whilst recognising obviously that there is going to be struggles along the way? Yeah,
dude, having a significant other that supports you is like crucial in this space, dude. I've gone in and out of dating people who either understood what my world was and who didn't understand, and like a lot of girls who don't come from esports or don't understand esports, they don't understand what I'm doing and like how important it is and how it's my job and stuff, and like they're just like, oh, you're just gaming, like why don't you want to hang out with me? And it's like, no, I'm practicing for a $2 million purse that I could win at the end of the year, you know? Like this isn't like me, like this isn't your every other guy you've known who's just playing Call of Duty just to have fun and relax. Like I'm doing this as my job, and so it makes it so I have to kind of date somebody who understands what I'm doing, and I have to be with somebody who understands uh, the struggles and the pain that I go through, and who can lend a listening ear when um, stuff isn't going right. Like if I didn't have Luna, to vent to and to vent my problems to, you'd probably see it on Twitter, and that's like not what you want. Like you need to have an outlet. You need somebody who will support you through thick and thin. During the whole joining a franchise, she was the person I talked to the entire time, like weighing my decisions, and like I get paid this much here, but it has this tax rate and I have to move here and have these teammates. And it's like, just having a backboard that understands where you're coming from and understands what I'm talking about is super important. I can be like, on this hard point on P1 to P2, I rotated like this and I got fucked over by my teammate, and she knows what I'm talking about, So like that, it's super important to me to have a girlfriend who understands my life and understands, what I'm doing every day.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think obviously you've hit the nail on the head there, especially with Luna. It's a real good relationship, and you can see that, especially like just in the way that like you guys play it out on Twitter too. You can see that you guys obviously have a really great back and forth. So you're well renowned for exceptional leadership, especially in terms of qualities, especially when recruiting a new player or trying to help a young gun really reach their full potential. For example, Sim, Pabizi, Shotzi. Is there a certain learning track that you like to try and take them down, or any particular words of wisdom that you provide to really set them on the winning path?
That's a tough question. There's a lot of things I say. A lot of them being stupid, just off the cuff bullshit sayings. I think the number one thing that you have to do when you have a prospect or a really raw talent that like you can see how good they are, but like they just don't have it all put together yet. The number one thing that I always tell them is just like, or I do with them, is I identify which way they need to be taught. And every single person learns differently. Some people, I have to yell at them not to do things and like scream it at them and they'll get it. And some people I have to talk to super soft and in a neutral tone, so they don't feel like threatened, and they process things better that way. And literally everybody's different. And so that's like the number one thing, is I figure out how they learn the best. And they might not even know themselves. I just see how they react to me yelling at them, or me telling them, really softly. And if they make the mistake again. And once you figure that out, it's all a matter of just like dripping knowledge. Like every time you're playing together, you'd be like, hey, when you did this after the game, you'd be like, hey, when you did this, instead of doing that, you might want to do this. And then you break it all down. Like, this guy's going to be coming this way, and this guy's spawning here, and this guy will pick it up. And then you go here because it's faster. And you just like explain it to them logically why it makes sense, and allow them to make their own decisions that are good decisions. And that's the most important thing, is like you have to teach them how to make the best decision and the best play in every little micro situation for themselves, because you can't play for them in the middle of a match. Like I can't pick up his controller and do it for him. I have to literally like make sure they understand the situation and they can make the best decision dependent on the circumstances themselves. And so it's just all about dripping knowledge, like every little bit. Like when I see one little thing wrong, or even somebody jiggles once too long or just takes a step out too far, and you just kind of break it down. And eventually after a couple weeks, couple months, you see these players get to a point like, obviously I'm not taking credit for like Shotzi's performance or, a.b.a or Simp's performances. Like these guys are animals, but you give them the tools to succeed and you set them up to succeed. And then you see these numbers, you see these performances, you see these kids become superstars almost overnight. And a lot of that just comes from just a constant drip of knowledge every time you play.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to see Shotzi's development over the last few months. Obviously, from going from example Minnesota and London to now, it's crazy to see how well he's doing. Are you hoping that he's going to be able to replicate this once LAN is an option again?
Yeah, I mean, he's had the fastest progression from any non-COD player to the level he's at right now. He's the fastest I've ever seen anybody do it. And you know, props to him. He's a freak at the game. He's a freak at video games. He just gets it on another level. And I'm not even worried about him replicating this on LAN or at Champs or anything like that. Like, this is the norm for Shotzi, and like Ant is gonna play like this the entire time he plays COD now. So I think like I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about me. I'm worried about me.
His movement is insane. I mean, I know a lot of people have been speaking about it this week. It's just he's so bizarre to watch. It's just insane how fast he is. But I mean,
he plays a different game. Yeah,
he plays
a different game, dude.
Props to him. He's putting the time in, and clearly, you know, he's starting to see the rewards of that. So, obviously, for most of your career within Call of Duty, you've often taken on the AR role in all of, if not most of, COD titles that you've competed. Despite the glaring differences in gameplay between the likes of World War II and Infinite Warfare, is there anything that you do at the start of each game to try and get ahead of the rest of the AR crop?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, dude. I like that question. I'm not going to give away too many of my secrets, but I think one of the biggest things that I do is run a sub for a little while. Like, I'll run after like a month into practice has happened, there'll be like a couple weeks where I'll run a sub in practice and just understand like what doesn't work for a sub and what does work for a sub, and like understand like how I die from ARs when I'm using a sub and how like I can kill ARs when I'm using a sub. And so once I get that other half of the knowledge, then when I move back to AR, I just know, I'm like, okay, this is what works as a sub. I'm going to like counter that instead of countering the obvious play. So like that's really like one of my like tricks that I've used for years and years and years, is just like understand the other side of the coin, understand how it is to play as the other guns, and it'll help you be more effective in like the gunfights you take and the positioning that you position yourselves in.
Yeah, I feel you. I like it. I'm glad you gave me an answer. I was a little worried with that question that you would be really reclusive with the answer and be like, I can't. But I'm glad that you've given me something. So I'm going to hit you with
I got a couple more. I just won't spoil it all.
No, good. I've got a little more Clay trivia for you, okay? So you have had tournament earnings exceed $30,000 every year for the last 8 years, okay? Now, do you know which COD title bought you a total of $84,250 in tournament winnings?
Oh, okay. 84,000, huh?
Yeah.
So it sounds like a decent amount, you know? So it's like, but it's not a champs amount. So no, it's not Black Ops 4, it's not AW. So I'd say that sounds like an Infinite Warfare number. That's
wow,
what that sounds like.
You're crazy. You've hit it again on the head. Nail on the head.
Dude, I know I made a decent amount in IW, but not like a crazy amount. So like, wow. It just sounded like an IW number.
That's impressive, seriously. I was really proud of myself writing these down. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get him so good, and so far you've just nope.
Hey, 2 for 3. I'll take 2 for 3.
That's pretty good. So, I mean, obviously your career has been pretty star-studded so far, and you've experienced COD on the grandest of stages and tasted glory at the highest level. How do you stay motivated when it comes to being back home, especially for the remainder of this year, obviously, when you're competing online? I mean, does the young burning passion of the likes of Shotzi and, you know, and Illy, for example, does that become infectious and help drive you?
I think it's gotten a little tougher being quarantined and just being you know, with the COVID stuff and it's all being online. It's hard to keep myself present every day. I find myself going through the motions more than often, and I think that while it is good for like, I think this year being franchising, it's better that it's online and all this stuff is happening with Modern Warfare, and like this game is kind of just being like, oh, it's online, it's whatever. But I think for me, to keep me going, it's a lot of not wanting to let my teammates down, letting the org down, letting the fans down. I think a lot of people are like, not look up to me in that sense, but like a lot of people aspire to have the career that I've had at my age. And so I'm kind of setting that bar right now. And I know if I don't give my all every day in practice, and if I don't give my all every tournament, have good performances, then like I'll regret that later on, and I'll set that bar lower. Yeah. And so I think that's really what I'm focusing on, is just making sure that like, if I'm still competing it, I'm giving everything I have to it, and try to put in the best performances, because like I don't want to be one of those players that plays after my time is up. Like if my time's up, I want to know and I want to be out and like be out on top, hopefully. But I just don't want to be that. I don't want to be 45 years old still playing Call of Duty. So it's really just focusing on like making the most of it while I'm here. Making as much money as I can while I'm here, get as many trophies as I can while I'm here, and hopefully making like lifelong friends along the way, which is what a lot of these COD friends have become to me.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically speaking, if you could still play Call of Duty at 45, would you? If you still had that, reflex and ability, do you think you would? Playing like maybe, Call of Duty Black Ops 26 or something like that?
I don't want to, but if I'm still making absurd money, then sure, why the hell not? What? It's just playing another video. Like I play video games all the time. If I can make oodles of money doing it, I might as well.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, you've been involved with competitive Call of Duty since 2007? I believe it was COD 4 when you kind of started tickling it around. And you've seen money from like many different tournaments, organisations, sponsors. Obviously, this year you're part of a franchise CDL team in Dallas Empire. And I'm assuming, a very handsome salary comes alongside that. What's it like looking back on your journey up to now?
Surreal. Like, surreal as hell, dude. Like, I was competing in 2007 through, like, 9 online, playing just, like, a lot of GBs. Like, dude, I was, like, number 1 on every team ladder from, like, COD 4 08, 09, into, like, World at War. I was number 1 on there. Like, I've been grinding this from the start for bragging rights. And then started going to tournaments, started playing on LAN, started winning, started making money, started getting salary. The salary goes up, the money goes up, everything goes up. And to look back from like now, 13 years ago, when I was playing game battles with my like real life friends in their basement until 6 a.m, it's a sense of like, I can't believe I've done this. Like, like I can't believe like we've done this. Like I can't believe Call of Duty is at a position to where I'm able to live off it and represent a city and move to a city and play out of offices if we want, and just really have the support system of the professional sports atmosphere. It blows my mind, dude. Like I can't believe it, and like I wake up every day super thankful and super grateful that I'm doing what I love every day. Even with all the bullshit, the trials and tribulations and everything else, like I still absolutely love what I do. And I'm just glad that other people love watching it, because, like if it wasn't for the people watching, like we wouldn't be able to be professional COD players. And I'm just thankful for everything, dude. Just like, I love everything about it. And I just constantly look back and be like, damn, dude, like it worked. Like it worked. Let's go.
It all paid off. That risk paid off. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a big contrast between back again? Is there a big contrast between kind of the delivery from organisations, last year and then this year? I mean, obviously with Dallas, now it's a franchise league. There's been so much money pumped into Call of Duty in the competitive scene, and obviously previously it's just been tournaments that have been run and hosted by multiple organisations such as MLG and so on. Is it a whole new level of kind of income and security in terms of your job?
Yeah, dude, like 100%. Up until this year, we could get dropped from our team and just make no guaranteed salary until we found another team to sign us. And so that's like a really scary thing to just have, like, your paycheck that you rely on can just be swept out from under you, and then you're like scrambling to find another team that's good that'll pay you that money. So like this year, all of our contracts are guaranteed. So like you get dropped, benched, traded, whatever. The remainder of your contract has to be paid out. And so I have health benefits this year for the first time ever. I'm a full-time employee of the Dallas Empire for the first time ever. I've always been like a contractor in the past, where you got to pay self-employment tax. You got to get your own health insurance. It's all this hassle. So like this year has really like made everything professional and made everything not as scary for us financially. And I mean, the amount of money we get paid is absurd, and I'm not saying that in an egotistical way. I genuinely don't think we should be paid this much, at all.
I've heard some figures from a few people that I know and different sources. I've heard some. I don't know exacts, but I mean, it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
It's absurd, and even like the number I'm getting on the Empire, I could have gotten double that on some of these other teams who wanted me to like build their team and be the face of the franchise and stuff. And it blows my mind, and I'm just hoping it doesn't go to everybody's head, and I'm hoping the bubble doesn't burst, obviously, because like I'm reaping the rewards.
Yeah.
But like it's just, to me personally, everything just feels good. Like I moved my entire life to Dallas, which was like from Austin, Texas, which was a couple hours away. And shit uprooted my whole life and moved to here to Dallas to support Dallas. And having these offices and the support system behind us, like we got a physical trainer, we got a mental skills coach, we got like all of the social media graphics people, like everybody supporting us. It feels like it's not us against the world, like us 5 on the team or 6 with the coach. It's like we have this whole organization that's behind us and trying to prop us up and support us. And it just feels nice. It feels nice to have security in every facet of the career.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you just touched on there in terms of, there's a physical coach and a mental. I mean, I think one thing at the moment, especially in the amateur Call of Duty scene, especially recently with this lockdown and the effects of coronavirus, is a lot of people's mental health has been under stress. What is the importance of looking after your mental health, especially when you're pursuing gaming as a career?
Oh man, it's like one of the most important things. I think that taking care of yourself mentally has got to be like top of the priority list, like right below like food and sleep, like, and I truly believe that a lot of gamers neglect their mental health or blame it on this or that and use online as an escape, and that's fine. But you still need to understand and have perspective of the situation and understand that like, hey, maybe I need to take some me time. Hey, maybe I should try and go outside and get some fucking sun sometime.
Yeah.
Like these are things I say to myself. Okay. Like I'm not projecting here. Like it's one of the things where we like to pass it off as a joke, and we like to pass it off as no big deal. But in my experience, it's one of the most important things, and to be in a healthy and really good mental state, it does wonders for everything else in your life. And it might not be 100%, but I guarantee you'll see more success as soon as you shift your mental mind and kind of get a different perspective on life.
Yeah, I'll go you. I mean, we spoke just about obviously your journey up to now, and then looking back and being able to reflect on it. If you were to pick kind of a moment in your career so far that has just been completely stand out compared to the rest, what would it be and why?
I've been asked this question a couple times, like, what's my favorite competitive moment? And maybe in a couple years my answer will be different, but winning playoffs last year, and kind of breaking the drought that I had going on of like 1,400 days since I'd won a major championship. That feeling of like release and kind of just like, it was like the entire world was lifted off my shoulders when I won playoffs. Like, and it's something like, might be recency bias, like, cause I still remember it. But I remember how it felt when I won champs in Advanced Warfare. I remember how it felt when I won a gold medal at the X Games with Optic. And I still think just like the holy shit, thank God, like this isn't hanging over my head anymore. That feeling is like can't be topped. Like I've went back and watched our like Ascent video that E-United made like 100 times, dude. Like I love that video. I love the guys over there. Shout out to them. I don't know how much I can talk about other orgs, but shout out to the old E-United team for winning the tournament with me and making a sweet video. Yeah,
you guys had an incredible year, and it was very clear to see there was a real brotherhood there. I mean, it wasn't just COD. It was a bunch of friends really enjoying themselves and doing it for via a platform that they love. Obviously, this year, Modern Warfare. I don't know how much you can say on this, but what are your honest thoughts around the game?
Love it to death. It might be my top 2 favorite CODs ever. No, I mean, we're not like a lot of people get this wrong, dude. A lot of people think we get fined for speaking out on the game and for saying negative things about the game, and that's actually not as true as some fans might think. We can be pretty critical, and we can say things and how we feel, and we're allowed to have an opinion. We just can't overdo it. And in all honesty, I mean, it's a good game, and like Warzone's awesome, Gunfight was awesome, you know, even Ground War was pretty fun. What, like for a pub, like I'm not a big pub guy, but Ground War is fun. But just competitively, man, it's tough. It's really tough to play. It's really tough to play consistently. You know, it needs a lot of like TLC, and just in terms of all of these little different mechanics that they could fix, and if they were to fix them, they'd be a sick game. Like if they were to make a spawn tuning and do like make a really clear spawn grid and just like make the spawns predictable, the game would actually be pretty awesome. But like we've had zero help with all of that from the developer, and I think that's where a lot of the frustrations from the pro players comes from, is that like, you know, we've gone through the proper channels. We've submitted like documents of feedback that is like well written and like no emotion in it, and they just literally like, okay, we got it, and then don't do anything with it. Like we've been trying to get DOM flags changed since -2 months of the game coming out. Like, you know, like we gave them different bomb sites, different DOM flags, like, and none of this has happened. So like, we don't expect it to happen, and that's really where you see a lot of the frustrations boil over from a lot of other people.
I suppose when it's a point that you've already raised, I mean, like you said, pre-release, for example, a point that you've raised, and you know we're 8 months, 7.5 months into the game, and you're still dealing with those same issues. I suppose it's very, very tedious to play on a daily basis, especially when you have to go over those same problems. I think Warzone's been a great addition personally. I think it's done a lot for the game in terms of viewership. And I think obviously even if only you take 5%, for example, of that Warzone viewership, and that 5% comes across to competitive Call of Duty, it's still great for the comp scene as a whole. I do worry personally though where Modern Warfare would be right now if Warzone wasn't released.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, I think that's also a case of, you can tell where their focus was.
Yeah.
You know, like you can tell, you know, squad spawning, which is like one of the major mechanics in Respawn right now in competitive, like where you spawn on your teammates.
Yeah.
You know, how is the spawning system for when you win your gulag or when you get you get bought back? You spawn on your squad in Warzone. You know, like you can make a lot of similar comparisons like that with the way that a lot of the stuff works. Like the monolithic suppressor that increases your range. Like that's not a thing. Like physically, like in real life, that's not a thing, and that's never been a thing in Call of Duty. But Warzone, they wanted you to be able to hide from the minimap and still have your range. You know, like if you can look at a lot of things in the game and understand, like, oh, this game was made for Warzone. Like you can tell this, like they just made multiplayer 10% and then 90% spent their time on Warzone, because Warzone's fun. Warzone's awesome, and it'd be really nice to see like the CDL on Twitch in the top row next to all these big streamers playing Warzone, but like we're on YouTube for, you know, like we've done this already. We tried to go to MLG already. And the viewership has actually been really good on YouTube, and I think it accounts for like a lot of like how the VODs turn into like the videos, and so like you see like 1 million views on it or whatever, and you're like, well, 1 million people watched COD, and it's like, no, well, like, you know, 50K watched this, and then 950K re-clicked it, you know, and you know, obviously, I know nothing of the business decisions of the CDL. Like, I'm sure they got paid for the YouTube thing, and I'm sure it's more longevity, and, you know, it expands the global scope of, you know, Call of Duty esports being on YouTube. But, you know, you go to Twitch and you see Warzone in the top 3 most played games right now, and it would just be awesome to have the CDL like in the top row on the weekends that it was, and like have these big streamers host the CDL, and like there's just so much cross pollination that we could be taking advantage of that, like it sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously as well there was a Warzone tournament run over the weekend, wasn't there? The Royal Ruckus by the Royal Ravens. That also completely almost pretty much overlapped with the CDL, and you know, it's like, which one do we focus the advertising on? Which one do we focus the viewership on? I mean, which one gives them the highest income? You know, it's a real split viewer base, and I don't know how that. I don't know. It's just a difficult thing to talk about because you can't put yourself in their mindset and see it from their perspective, obviously. But I
think the biggest thing is to get that to be like not so split, is the game that we play competitively has to be more like the game everybody else plays casually, you know, like, and how much we restrict and how much, we don't play with, and yada yada, GAs, rule sets, all that stuff. They need to make a COD that has none of this bullshit in it, and is not made for the noobs, and is not made for the casual, dad who plays 1 hour a week. They need to make a COD that's competitive. They need to make a COD that has only stuns and smokes and an aid or something. They need to make COD that is 3-lane maps and that has a rigid spawn system. Like, has a COD where you can outplay your opponent instead of these safe space, one doorway bullshit rooms. Like, that's the main thing in my opinion. Is like if you want to have all these people who watch all these streamers play Warzone, watch competitive, they need to be watching the same game that they play.
No, I agree. Yeah, there's been obviously a flurry of creators and personalities in the last kind of 2 to 3 months, especially on Twitch, that have just kind of blown up from Warzone. I mean, I don't know if you know Jukies from the UK, who's blown up recently.
I know him now.
yeah. I mean, he's a friend of mine, and that he won the Royal Ruckus with Delio and Scraps over the weekend, obviously.
Cheater.
Oh, no.
I honestly don't even know what that's about. I just saw it on Twitter. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know what it's about, dude.
Oh.
I gave Scraps some shit for it on Twitter too. Don't worry.
Bro, I was in. You throw me off, bro. I was in the tournament, so I was competing with like Martin Boyle, who's like a Scottish soccer player. But we were in the Discord for the tournament, obviously, and bro, when it happened, oh my god, it started going. That Discord was crazy. I just remember sitting there. I was sitting there like, whoa. It was hilarious. Oh man. Well, thanks. So, I want to get into a little bit of how well do you know your teammates? Okay, so
wow.
I've got a few tweets and questions around some of your current teammates, and I want to see if you can place them to the right player. So, this is a tweet here from 2015. Just got a higher KD than Scump. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly horny right now.
It's got to be Hook, right? No, it's not Hook. Damn, it's got to be Krim then, right?
Yes, sir.
No?
Krim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Krim tweeted that May 3rd, 2015.
Oh, man.
Right, I got another one for you. So, losing some weight before the school year. My goal is 180 pounds. May not be so realistic for only 4 weeks, but only pussies set realistic goals.
Oh my god! Dude, I don't know. I've had 2 of my teammates. No, I'm not gonna say nothing. I got some large teammates and some that have been large in the past. I have no idea who said this. That sounds like a Porter thing to say. That sounds like a Krim thing to say. But like, I don't know if he's been in school. So maybe Illy.
Krim or Illy? I'm gonna push you for a final answer.
Oh man, that sounds like a Krim thing to say, but like I don't know how when was this tweet from?
Oh, I can't tell you. That might give it away.
That might give it away. Oh no, dude. I'm saying Krim. Final answer.
Wow, 2 for 2. You're good. Yeah, Krim tweeted that in 2011, August the 8th.
Oh my god, dude.
He was a fat ass 9 years ago. Oh. Right, I've got a tweet here. So, Black Ops 4 will save COD. That's the tweet.
Oh man, that's the tweet.
That's the tweet. And I picked it just because obviously you had a great year on it, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Black Ops 4 will save COD. Well, it was World War II, so who was disappointed in World War II? And so it's like, I want to say Krim again, but I don't think Krim's that. I don't think he's that naive to say Black Ops 4 will save COD. I'll go with Hook. We'll say Hook. Final answer.
Wrong. It was Illy.
It was Illy, dude.
Yeah,
Why would Illy say that, dude? Illy wasn't even playing anything, dude. Like, what?
I know. So I've got a question for you. It's not a tweet, it's just a question here. Do you know Huke's favourite ever video game?
Ooh. No, I don't. World of Warcraft, probably.
No, sir. Halo 3.
Halo 3. I'm gonna ask him this question tomorrow, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
tweet it
should.
here.
No,
I'm
do
pretty sure
it.
he's gonna say, "Wow, dude." I'm pretty sure.
No. Look. This is from an interview like a little before. Okay, so if his mind has changed,
Okay,
that's
fair
not on
enough.
me.
Fair
Right.
enough.
Do you know how much money Hugh has earned in tournament winnings before turning 18?
No. I mean, I know he. Well, are we counting Halo too?
Indeed, yeah. Can't Halo
Oh
2.
man, I have no idea how much. I know he won a decent amount, but I don't know how much. I'd be willing to wager like. Huh?
It's pretty impressive considering it was under 18. Pretty
Oh
impressive.
shit. Well, now my number's changing, dude. Like I'm thinking like 150K, 125, up 200, 250, 225. Come on, what is
A
it?
little that is 211k
211. Wow,
before
that's
turning
actually
18. That's impressive.
that's pretty impressive to make that much money
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you
yeah.
turn
I
18.
know. So I got a bonus question on the flip side of that. There is a player on your current roster that made that exact same amount of money, but from one title. Do you know who?
Holy shit. 211. That's a significant amount.
And that significant amount was made on one title.
One title. I would probably say Shotzi from those Halo tournaments he won.
Wow, you are good.
Let's go. Dude.
Wow, yeah, Shotzi. Shotzi made 211k off Halo 5.
Damn, that's crazy.
Wow.
I'm getting some good guesses here.
You're
dude.
good, bro.
proud of myself.
You know your
These
team
are
better than you
tough
think.
questions, dude.
Right, and this is my last one. It's a tweet. Thinking of taking a semester or two off school to pursue this gaming career. Thoughts?
Oh wow. I have no idea. Is that me?
No.
It
was you. It was you.
Ah, let's go.
You tweeted that in 2013 August, and what a choice that was. Look how it paid off.
Dude, for sure. That is for sure, dude.
So, past that little trivia bit, I've got a question for you. If you had to build a legacy team of 4 or 5, so forget this 5v5 concept, it can be 4v4 or 5v5. If you had to build a legacy team of 4 or 5 players to go into the next Call of Duty title, from past and present players that you feel could win it all, who would it be and why? But bear in mind, you cannot include any of your current teammates.
Thank you for adding that stipulation, dude, because I would have just picked all my teammates, all right? Thank you for adding that. So I think Call of Duty's infinitely played better on 4v4, so I'll pick a 4v4 team. So I can't pick from my team. Oh, that's tough, man. Obviously, so I'll run AR. I would need, 2 really good subs, and so I think just 2 really good players that I could work with, or obviously Simp, and I'm not sure which one between Abizi and Priesta I would go with. I don't know Priesta that well. I know Abizi really well, and I know he doesn't like me, so I think that I don't know if he like. I'm just, but I'm just kidding. I would probably do some combination of those 3 as the 2 subs, and then I'd really want somebody that would fit that flex role really well. So I would think somebody like Crim6 or Arcides would work really well there.
Yeah.
So kind of like a mix mash of like Optic and United and FaZe, something, or Chicago. Sorry, I don't know what you call them, Optic.
Yeah, that sounds like another ring to me. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely sounds like another ring.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, recently we've had the news of Damon deciding to retire and step back from from competing. What are your thoughts around that?
I respect him for making the decision, number one. I think it's a super hard decision to make, and somebody of his caliber, it's just tough, dude. And I've known Damon for a long time now. One of the greatest competitors in Call of Duty history, and arguably the GOAT. He's got 3 rings, and it makes me a little worried. If he's out, like how much time do I have left? He was on top of the world last year at the beginning of the year. He won Vegas, and then had a decent year all year. Got third at champs, and Then into franchising, and Seattle's just been in the gutter this whole time. And it goes to show you how quick things can change. Guy went from winning a tournament one year to the next year struggling to win a match. And I think that it shows how like on a razor thin edge you are in Call of Duty at all time. Like one roster decision, like one tournament, where you have a bad tournament, it kills everyone's vibe. Like one thing happens and you kind of spiral. And I think he made a good decision. I think Damon can be a really good streamer and content creator, and I think he'd be a really good asset as a coach, as an analyst. I think he knows what he's talking about. And I think he's got a great career ahead of him. I don't think his like career in esports is over by any means, and I think like he's stopping at a time he's comfortable with, and if he's been thinking about it for weeks and weeks, like he's ready to go. And I respect him and wish him luck. And honestly, he's one of those people that like he's gonna be just fine in whatever he does. Like Damon fits right in wherever. He's gonna excel at whatever he does, and I'm excited to see what he gets into next.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, does it leave a little hole in your competitive nature that you can't compete against the likes of him anymore?
Yeah, I think it's a tragedy that me and him never teamed together. I think that there's very few people in the legend scene of Call of Duty that I haven't teamed with, and me and Damon is one of those. And it just never worked out. It almost worked out last year. I won't say too much into that. But last year, me and him were very, very, very close to teaming together, and with a couple other people on an org not a lot of people know about. So that you just got a little bit of intel on your show here, dude, awesome. And not really many people know about that one.
Awesome. Me personally, I would have loved to see it happen. I mean, fingers crossed. You know what? You never know. It might still. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But it's definitely like one partnership that for me, like, it just I feel like it has to be seen. But hey, only time will tell.
Yeah, hopefully one day. I mean, he'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
I bet.
I think he will too. Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think he's just burnt out on this. In my opinion, by the way, these are my words. Shit game. And I think hopefully next year's release with Von der Hart at the helm might show us a flame that gets relit again. Hopefully for him. Obviously, you've experienced many different fan bases over your years. Complexity and so on, Optic, you're now with Dallas, and it's just to name a few. There's always been this stigma around Optic's fan base. Well, to me, what was Optic, it isn't anymore in my opinion, but what Optic used to be. What was it like being a part of that active roster at the time, back those years ago, and what is that fan base like?
It was a dream come true to join Optic. And when Nate, I remember the specific moment at UMG Philadelphia. I was on TK. We just got second. He asked me to come up to their hotel room and talk to them. Nate Shot did. Like, I remember this meeting vividly with with Nate, Hex, and Big Timer, and Scump was leaving to Envy, and we had to find some others, and like it was craziness. And the Green Wall and the Optic fan base, or Chicago, or Hex, or Scump, or Nate, or whoever's fan base it is, the Green Wall is awesome in a lot of ways. And when you're on the team and they're supportive and you're winning, or when you win a tournament, or even when you're feeling slightly down, like they'll prop you up. And I would say the majority of Green Wall fans are awesome people, and they just love competitive Call of Duty. They happen to like the most popular team, who has like some of the best personalities. You can't fault them for that. And I think there's a super loud minority of these people who give them the toxic like name. And 10% of 1,000 people isn't that much, but 10% of 10 million people is a lot of people being loud and being toxic. And so I think that's just what a lot of people forget. And a lot of people made this, like, last year there was a moment where we lost to them in an online tournament, and a bunch of them came in my stream chat, we're talking shit, and I said some words I shouldn't have, and told them to do some stuff. But and it got translated as I said, all of Optic fans should do this. But in reality, I was saying these 1,000 people that came into my chat to troll me, I was just pissed at them because we just lost, and like
Yeah.
I was talking to them. I wasn't talking to all the people, and so it gets misconstrued that I hate like Optic fans. I hate the Green Wall and stuff. And in fact, I really like them. Like I think that they're very hard to deal with when you're losing, but that's just because they care. And I think that if it wasn't for Optic, it wasn't for the Green Wall, like we probably wouldn't have competitive Call of Duty be where it's at now. So it's definitely a double-edged sword in a way, but they're a great fan base. They're passionate about what they do and who they support, and they love their team, and you really can't ask a fan to do anything else than that.
Yeah, I think a benefit to obviously franchising the league this year is that each team has its set state and or country or place. For example, London Royal Ravens has pretty much got the whole of the UK backing, and then obviously Paris Legion has got most of France. And these will pull players from many, fans from many different regions of the world. And I suppose it's building new individual fan bases rather than this kind of one set concept of it used to be pretty much the Green Wall and then just specks of fans here and there, whereas now we're seeing a lot more open fan bases for different franchise spots, obviously, which is great, and I think it's great for the competitive sport altogether.
Yeah, for sure.
So with hindsight now in your favour and a wealth of knowledge and experience looking back on your career, what advice would you give a younger James that other people could probably take something from too?
Don't be so loyal to people or organizations or sponsors that don't reciprocate it. I think, I don't want to say be selfish, but in this world and in a competitive space like this, where it's a performance-based job, worry about yourself a little more. Like, worry about where you're going to be at and worry about how others perceive you, and be proactive on taking advantage of making decisions and making moves before somebody else does. And I think a lot of people can take stuff from that. Like, don't just sit back and let things happen to you. Take ownership of your life. Take responsibility. Hold yourself accountable. And when it's time to look after yourself, it's time to look after yourself. And I don't mean that in like a completely selfish way, but kind of in a selfish way. You got to look out for number one. You got to look out for yourself sometimes.
Yeah, I agree completely. Obviously with that, if you could give kind of a bit of advice to amateur players, obviously there was a point in time in your career where you were coming up, and obviously I know that the competitive scene and the way Call of Duty is now was so different 10, 12 years ago, and social media didn't have the presence that it does now. I suppose getting your name out there back then was probably a little harder actually, because you didn't have all this social media to kind of bank on and really spread that word. If you were to give some advice to an amateur player right now who's full of raw talent, has the gun skill and has the mindset, what would it be? What would that advice be for them to just start really, really getting themselves out there?
I get asked this question a lot, and the one thing that I've thought about it a lot too. The one thing that I can tell AM players is like, you have to have the breakout event. And a lot of people don't really understand that. And like when I was playing Black Ops 2, when I started playing, because I took a little break in the middle there between like Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, from like COD 4 MW2 to Black Ops 2, I took a break. Played here and there, but not a lot. And when I came back to Black Ops 2, everybody's like, "Oh, you're washed up. You haven't played in forever. I don't want to team with you."
Yeah.
And then I got a team of scraps, went to Dallas in Black Ops 2, and with Unite, and ended up having like a monster tournament. It was just frying the whole time. Had a pop-off tournament. We got second. It was insane. And then I immediately got put on Complexity. And those type of tournaments you have to have as an amateur player. Like, look at Singularity last year, like at Champs. Like, Kleenex had a breakout event. Like, even those dudes now, they had a breakout event at Champs, and that allowed them to like momentum that into the Challengers. Like how good they have played this year in Challengers. And so that's the one thing I tell them is like, when you have your time, like to shine, like, and to perform, you have to go out there and fry, and you have to go out there and like shit on other people so hard that like it's noticeable. So like to where everybody notices, like, oh damn, like this kid is frying them, And that's the same thing with Mac, the same thing with Awakening. Like these amateur kids have been frying kids in the amateur circuit in these tournaments, and then they're like, oh okay, like now I'll pull you up to the big leagues.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I think that's some good advice as well, especially. It's just, I think when you mix the two together and the whole idea of like just ultimately you need to be selfish and also, and focus on you. I think it all ties in, and I think it's the right message on you. I think it all ties in, and I think it's the right message to put across. So obviously going into next year, you know, I've got a slight idea of your thoughts on MW. I'm pretty sure I can put them together for myself in my head. What are you hoping for from the next release? What needs to be different versus this year?
Yeah, we need support. We need the developer to actually listen to what we're saying and actually make changes. And they've proven that they can make CDL tuning specifically, so it's not tuning that's going to affect the actual public game or anything. It's just when you put this setting on. You know, they need to listen to us and work with us on that. You know, I would really like there to be a ranked system, a competitive play ranked system with awesome rewards for doing well. Would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I think also the maps need to be good. I think the maps are the biggest backbone of any good competitive game. If you have good maps, it does wonders for a video game. So really just map design and rank play. I think those are my two biggest things that I hope they change next year.
No, I agree. If you were to, I mean, real quick, just as a
fuck doors.
Yeah, they are the worst thing ever, bro. I don't get it. I do not get it. It just like I lost a bit of focus there. To me, like in terms of like Call of Duty and what made Call of Duty good over the years was just having these maps with set lanes that you had, you know, consistent lanes gunfights, and you knew where to expect and how to expect a gunfight, and it made the game playable. Whereas with like MW, someone can like knock a door closed 55 fucking times with slide cancelling in about 10 seconds. And I'm just like, no, this is no. It gets turned off straight away. It's just too much. I always think of like when I sit here and think of like a balanced map, like I don't know, like it wouldn't even be a competitive map, but like I always sit and think about like High Rise and MW2 and like how much I enjoyed that map, especially for like pubs. And then this year, like I cannot enjoy MW like at all. I don't know why.
Tough.
Yeah, it's just me, I
tough.
guess. I've got one final question for you. What I will do is I'll ask the chat real quick. If you guys have got any questions, I'll probably pick one or two as long as they're constructive. So go ahead and post them now. One final question. Friday, obviously, your guys' opening game is versus Raw Ravens. First off, I want to try and get your prediction for that, and then your predictions for yourselves overall. Now, I know, obviously, you guys, I mean, look, the mindset is to go ahead and win. What are your predictions for the opening game versus Ravens?
We're probably going to win 3-2 after a reverse sweep.
Okay.
You know, that seems pretty typical for a Europeans versus me match. I don't know what it is, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. Like, I actually think really highly of all the players on the Ravens.
Yeah.
You know, I almost teamed, like I was almost on the Ravens. Like, no bullshit. Like I was second option, very, 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 very close to being on the Ravens. So
damn, bro.
I think very highly of them. There's some kind of mental block or mental hump or something like they struggle to close out series versus me. And it's been like that since like Black Ops 3, like back in the day. Like I always have some sort of confidence that like even if I'm down 0-1, 0-2, like I'm gonna come back and win the series versus the likes of the Twins, of Jerd, of you know, Trey, Shawnee, like all those guys. Honestly, the most trouble I've ever had with a European team was fucking Quicker and the boys back in IW, I think it was, or maybe even World War II. Those dudes smoked me every time, dude. I don't know what it is about those guys, but back in the day, those kids smoked me. But yeah, I think, you know, some form of 3-2. Game 5 could probably go either way, though.
Yeah, I feel you. So, I mean, what you're saying in a sense is that pretty much you're living rent-free in the boys' heads.
Yeah, I mean, not on purpose, I'm not saying this. You said it, all right?
Yeah. Look, I'm a Ravens fan. I've had Matty and Brad both on the show. I love them both, man. They're like, I'm Raw Ravens through and through. I mean, for me, prediction is, look, Wuskin's going to pull out the broomstick, the sniper. It's going to be real tough. It's going to be real rough. I'm going to pick up these questions. So we've got one here from Kev, who said, how did the hype factor change after the choo-choo train killer situation where they overdid the hype and started yelling at the fans? Did the league crash down on you guys?
It was weird. We were encouraged and then told not to do it, and then encouraged to do it, and then told not to do it, and then like told by Activision not to do it, but told by MLG they're like, "Yo, talk shit." You know, like we've been told not to and to talk shit all the time. It's evolved less into talking shit to your opponents and more gassing your teammates up, which I think has kind of made a good change because it's less like it's not like you're fucking shit, you fucking suck. It's more like, yo, Shotzi, you're sick. Like, yo, Kyler, that was fucking awesome. You're a fucking beast, you know? Like, so it's kind of turned it from like negative to like positive. So like that's really been the biggest change in shit talk is it's less like 1v like you versus the other team and more so gassing your teammates up.
Yeah. Got one here. So why didn't Embos kill the guy B down at Champs?
Oh man, don't get me started on that one. I still think about that all the time, dude. We should have been in winners. We should have been in the grand finals from the winner's side. We probably still would have lost, honestly. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, we lost in winners finals. Like, if we would have made it to grand finals, we're probably still losing 2 best-of-5s to Complexity. So, you know, in the end, it's the difference between third and second, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Barney's just put in the chat, I missed the ponytail talk shit Clayster back in the day. And I mean, I watched some, like I said to you earlier, I was watching some clips on YouTube today from some of your really old interviews and stuff. And bro, when you had that ponytail, you were a different man.
Yeah, my hair's getting there, dude. It's getting there. Like, I haven't had a cut since before LA, but yeah, I was not prepared to be in front of the camera as much as I was that tournament. Is all I'm gonna say. As shown by the prepubescent beard I had going on, the nerd glasses, the ponytail. I wasn't prepared to be on camera, obviously.
I feel you. I think just one final question. Obviously, at the moment, there's a lot of top tier AM players, both in EU and over there in NA. If you could kind of name maybe some that you feel may be looking at a possible, you know, spot in the CDL team come next title, who do you think it would be? Who do you think has really displayed that level of talent?
Well, I think all of your pros that are now AMs deserve a spot in the league. I mean, you're talking about Dave, you're talking about Mad Cat, you're talking about, you know, all of those dudes. And then even on the NA side, you're talking about Fellow, Nagafin, Royalty, Zodic, like all those dudes who were pros, I think deserve to be in the CDL. And I also think there's definitely a couple up-and-comers that I've got my eye on. I think Siblings off of the Atlanta Academy team. I've been watching him for a minute since last year, and I think that kid is really, 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 really good. I think that Siblings kid is going to be, as soon as he gets a chance, I think that kid's going to be really good if he has somebody to teach him how to put it all together. But I'm not going to give any way my prospects out, bro. I got to keep those under tight lock and key, bro. I'm the prospect king, all right? I got to keep those secret, man.
No, I feel you. I do. Look, I'm grateful. I'm really, really grateful you've been on the show. That's pretty much everything I've had to ask you so far. I'm pretty sure I'll probably lie in bed in about an hour's time and think of like 20 other questions that I wish I asked you that I haven't. But look, I feel like I've picked your brain enough, especially with that trivia. But although I am super impressed, I was like, what?
I gotta set the bar high, dude. I gotta set it high, dude.
Like, I was crazy impressed. Like, for real, you came out of nowhere with that stuff. What we are going to do, just to keep this bittersweet, is we're going to go and raid the cheetah from the Royal Ruckus tournament on the weekend. Just go. We're going
Awesome,
to
go. Well, hey, thanks for having me on, dude. I really, really do appreciate it.
No problem at all. Honestly, I'm so grateful for your time and just like some feedback from me as a host of a podcast, like your ability to talk and the way you construct a sentence is fucking incredible, and it's rare to come across. So
I appreciate it.
no problem at all. I have just ended